Right? Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Call Halayim Yahweh, Bahashim Yahawashi, Bahashim Arachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, taught us the truth. Honors and salutations to the elect, to the men that died doing the work of Yahweh Hashem Yahawashi, because they shall of us first. To the men, women, and children that believe on the true name of the Father and the Son. The Father's name is Yahweh, he exists. The Son's name is Yahweh Shai, is the deliverer. He's come to deliver us to this captivity that we're in. My name is Micah Allah Ben Gab Ben Yasharala, the Church of Philadelphia, camp here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Once again, come back at you with another one before I hit the plant. Hey, Shalom, brother. Yabashim Shabashim Chakodash Brakatah. Just wanted to touch on this because I was talking to the brother yesterday. I meant to do it last night on the plant, but it got a little hectic, so I couldn't do it. Came home with the sleep. But this is for brothers, man. That's always like, yo, I ain't nobody. I ain't nobody. You've been told your whole life that you wasn't nobody, man. Hey, Shalom, Magan. You've been told your whole life you wasn't nobody. You know, and being in this truth, you got to be somebody to be in this truth, man. You know, not saying it with hopeful members of the elect. You know, you got to hope for that. You know, and that's having a humble attitude, like Yahweh Shah. That's why I want to go in this Philippians, because it's talking about how Yahweh Shah conducted himself, man. And I'm going to read it in the NLT because it breaks it down so perfectly, man. You know, like I said, it's for brothers. I always talking about they ain't nobody. I used to tell myself that. But brothers about, yo, I ain't nobody. You don't know who you are, man. All right? The spirit knows who you are. These demons know who you are. But you, per se, you don't know who you are. Even, what was it? John the Baptist. He didn't know who he was in his past life. All right? Because when they asked him, they was like, is this the prophet? Such and such. So they knew about, about reincarnation and everything like that, But anyway, I ain't saying be arrogant, brag, and boast about, oh, I'm this. No, you don't do that. That's why I'm going to read this. All right, so this is Philippians chapter 2, starting verse 1. I'm going to go to 11, then I'm going to get out of here because I got to go to the plant. But it says, is there any encouragement for belonging to Hamashiach? Because the people like belonging to the Lord, you got to suffer what he suffered, man. People was talking crazy about him, but Yahweh Shah never once said, I ain't nobody. He let people assume and say whatever they wanted about him. That's why the band is so great, man. All right, it says, any comfort from his love, any fellowship, it says, any fellowship together in the spirit. Are your hearts tender and compassionate? It says, then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and purpose. All right, so when you are in this word, man, how you work together with your brothers in one mind, you teach the same doctrine, you teach the same thing, and that's how you could tell who has the attitude of Yahweh Shah, man, Hamashiach. All right, because when he was moving about and he told the disciples, and they was like, oh, they're teaching in your name. So we say something to him. He's like, no, he does. He's not. He that is not against us is for us. So he knew very well that they was teaching what he was teaching, because he told them and they heard of it. But you got men now. That's how you can tell the attitudes of these men. That like, what's that song from Kanye? He's like, that's not Christ-like. He's like, everybody want to tell you when you're not being like Christ. But that's how people are, man. They like controversy, things like that. But Yahweh Shai, he was about the controversy, in Israel. But he really he was on point with it. All right, so check it out. It says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble. You see that? Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. And that's like, you look at a man, like, yo, that's a great man. And that's in I believe it's the book of Sirach. Forgot what chapter it was, but it goes into remembering great men, and it gives you a list, and it goes down all the great men. They wasn't trying to impress nobody. You know, they wasn't selfish. They was humble, man. They were servants to Yahawashi Yahawashi, Bashim Chakodas. Servant meaning being a slave to him. We're slaves to the Most High, man. Yahweh, Bashim Yahawashi. Just like Yahawashi was a slave to Yahweh, man. We're servants. You know, we're here to serve our people. And how do you serve them? Telling this truth. This truth is a job. That's a job, and being on a job, you're a slave. You're a slave to your job. All right, so why not be a slave to this ultimate work, the greatest work on the planet, in the universe, man? All right, I'm gonna read this again. Verse 3, it says, "Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves, and let the Lord raise you up." All right, it says, "Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too." And how do you do that? Teaching His word, because you got a lot of men like going into that talent, believe of the pennies. No, the talent. No, what's the Salaki, the parable of the talents. Forgive me, slip of the tongue. But the parable of the talents, when the Lord gave each man a talent, some He gave more, some He gave less, but you're supposed to go and double that and bring it back. You know, and being selfish is not telling the people the truth. You got the name, you don't want to tell it. A lot of dudes that get that, they took that bag, man. They don't want to teach the name once they had it. Now that's being selfish because you're looking after your own interests. You're lining your own pockets, you know. But that's ultimately going to get your ass put to death when your house shot comes back. All right. It says ye must have the same attitude that Hamashiach Yahawashi had. Though he was a God, right? Though he was a God, he did not think of Salaki. He did not think of equality with the Most High as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges, right? So no, because he was, man, he's the first spirit ever created. All right. So everything belongs to him. Everything that Yahweh has, he gave to his son, his only begotten son. So he gave up all that to come down here and all those reincarnations. And ultimately, when he came as Yahawashi to teach us, man, all right, he could have just been like, man, I don't got to teach these niggas nothing, you know, but he ain't do that. All right, so it says, instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. All right, he was made, what it tells you, said he was made a little bit less than the angels. That's, yo, man, if that's not greatness, I don't know what is. If that's not greatness. And you can tell a lot of men that don't have the attitude of Yahawashi, man, by their confidence, their spirit, the way they talk, the way they act, how they teach, you know. They so prideful, man. And that pride, it tells you, Proverbs, pride bringing forth destruction, pride go forth before destruction, and the haughty look before a fall, man. All right. And a lot of these prideful dudes, look what happens. They fall out, they get exposed, you know, because from January to now is what, March? Look how much has happened in Israel, just around the world, man. And especially in Yasharah, the men is getting exposed. You know, I've been saying that for years. How many men you're going to be shocked. And there's still more to come, man. All right. But it says, let's read it again. Verse 7, it said, instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to the Most High and died a criminal's death on the cross. And this man wasn't a criminal. He was innocent of everything that they accused him of. All right. But he was so humble, he put himself in that position. So he died for the elect's sin, starting with the elect, but it's all Israel, because at the end, all Israel is going to be saved. But right now, this is all about the elect, man. All right. This is all about the elect, because they're the rulers. They're the next rulers in the kingdom, man. You know? So it says, he humbled himself in obedience to the Most High and died a criminal's death on the cross. Man, I can't get over that. Yo, shalom, bro. It says, verse 9, it says, therefore, the Most High, see this, check this out. Therefore, the Most High elevated him to the place of highest honor and gave him the name above all other names. You see that? So that's why you don't try to make a name for yourself here, try to be this, no, man. All right, you be humble, you teach the word. You know, dudes go off, you rebuke them, man. All right, how do you rebuke them? Through these scriptures, because everything is written in the scriptures, man. And you could tell we listen to the apostles, and they got the doctrine of Yahawashi, man. But the Lord gives it to his men. The Lord reveals things to his servants, the prophets. You got, and every brother has different talents, man. Some brothers have multiple talents, man. But you can read spirits, man. That's a great thing. You can read spirits, man. That's a hell of a gift, you know. To be look at this guy, man. You could tell his spirit. You could just see the slimy, the demons on him, man. Yahweh Shah saw all that, you know. But it says, therefore, I'm gonna read that again, man. That's beautiful. It says, therefore, the Most High elevated him to the place of highest honor and gave him the name above all other names. So his name is higher than every name on this planet, man. His only name is not higher, that he's not higher than, is Yahweh. Every other name, he's over that, man. All right. It says in Salak, it says that at the name of Yahawashi, see this? At the name of Yahawashi, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Yahawashi Hamashiach is Lord, to the glory of the Most High, the Father. All right. So you got to have that type of attitude, that the mentality of Yahawashi. He only spoke truth, man. He wasn't out here talking crazy reckless. Whenever he spoke, it meant something. All right, he spoke prophecy. And the spirit of Yahawashi is the spirit of prophecy, man. All right? So Lord's willing to just edify y'all, and stop calling yourselves nobodies, man. All right? Be humble. But in your mind, you got to be somebody, man. The Lord knows who you are, man. So if he called you to this work, just do the work. All right? Do the work, stay humble, and stop calling yourselves nobodies, man. All right? Because you're going to find out who you are real soon. All right? So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, HaRachakwadash. Dawanas to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. To the next lesson, I'm saying Mawafa Baba Ball and Kwame Asherala. Shalom.